Congratulations on your upcoming wedding. I'm going to be letting you know 7 common mistakes that brides make when they're planning their wedding, so that you don't fall into that trap, so that you don't make that mistake. And then I'm just going to go straight into it. But before I do that, let me just introduce myself. My name is Oluwadara. I'm a professional wedding planner currently based in Lagos, Nigeria. And I see these mistakes, they're actually more than 7, but for the purpose of this, I'm going to be letting you the 7 most common ones that could actually impact on the outcome of your wedding. You only get married once. We only want to get married once. We don't want a situation whereby that's once of a lifetime opportunity of getting married. We don't want a situation where our dream wedding flops. We don't want a situation where we don't actually have that dream wedding. We've been thinking about this wedding for a long time. We've been dreaming about it, and then on the D-Day, because of particular mistakes that we were not aware of, the wedding flops. We don't want that. So I'm just going to go straight into it. And number 1, it is planning before setting a budget. It's a very common thing. You just say, oh, we've booked our venue, or I like this venue and then I book it, or I like this decorator and then I book the decorator, not putting into consideration what my budget is, because your budget sets a limit to, oh, these are the things I can take, these are the things I cannot take. So when we're thinking about budget, it has to be an holistic approach. We have to set a budget before we start booking vendors, before we start booking venues. There was something that happened. There was a particular couple that they really loved this venue. It was 1.4 million naira. The whole budget for the wedding was 3.5 million. And I'm sure you're already like, oh, that doesn't make sense, because if you are taking about 30 to 40% of your budget to pay for the venue alone, then it doesn't necessarily give room for other things. But they would have booked it without professional advice and then now try to patch every other thing, which of course will not make the wedding great. It will not give them the outcome that they desire. So don't book your vendors before you set your budget. Even if you are sure that this is the vendor that I'm going to use, set your budget first before you begin to book your vendors, because it would also even help when you're trying to negotiate for things. Oh, this is what I have in mind. Oh, can you go for this price? Can I get it for this price? What extra am I supposed to pay? So it gives a holistic approach to that. The second most common mistakes that a lot of brides make when planning their wedding is they don't consider their venue when they are planning their decor. So you already have, oh, this is what I want my wedding day to be like, this is how I want the house to be, the stage and all of that, these are the effects I want. But then you don't consider the venue. Is the venue you are booking, is it appropriate for the type of decor that you want? Because if there's so much a venue can allow, if you book a venue that will not accommodate, that cannot allow for the type of decor you want, then you will not get it. You really will not get it. There's so much magic a decorator can do, but if the space doesn't allow it, it doesn't allow it. You cannot have that. So these are things that you need to consider. You need to ensure that you don't make that mistake. And I actually wrote a lot of these things in my printable wedding planner that's it's loaded for brides, especially for if you are planning your wedding yourselves. It's loaded. What questions should I ask my venue? What questions should I ask my decorator? So that you don't just pay and then you say, oh, I got it at a discount, but even though I got it at a discount, I'm not able to do what I want to do at that venue because of the way the venue is. So it is important that you consider your decor when you are booking your venue. Before you book that venue, consider the type of decor you want and see if that venue would be able to accommodate that type of decoration. Number 3, this one, oh God, I see it a lot of times and I'm like, no, don't do that. Like, definitely don't do this. And these are people that book a decorator because they have a package that suits their budget. So from my own standpoint, I'm like, there are a lot of things I ask the decorator. Or we've created a mood board, for example, and they'll begin to say, okay, this, that. We know, oh, this is what this costs. This is the cost for this and all of that. But sometimes you just have, okay, maybe, oh, I'm planning my wedding. My wedding is, my budget for decor is maybe 500k, or maybe it's 1 million, or it is 1.2. And there's a decorator that says, oh, you know what, I have these packages, I have classic, I have platinum, I have diamond packages. Oh, and you find one that suits your budget, or maybe you're even able to negotiate to suit your budget, and then you just say, you know what, I'm going to go for it. No, don't do that. Make sure you ask details. Make sure you ask before you pay for that decorator. Make sure you ask, this package that I want to pay for, does it suit the dream I have? Does it suit the type of decor that I want? All of these things are detailed in my printable wedding planner. You can get it. It's going to like really help your life, solve your problem. But let's come back to the fourth common mistake that a lot of brides make. I see these things happen like almost every time or every day. I see it happen a lot of times, and I'm like, oh God, if only, like. So number 4 thing is, you don't ask your photographer or your videographer the right questions. So sometimes you just, oh, go ahead, we see this promo, or it's on promo, you know what, I'm just going to pay. We don't consider our events. We don't ask the right questions from the photographer and from our videographer before we go ahead to book. For example, you have to ask the person, how many hours am I entitled to? How many hours of coverage? Oh, some will say, oh, the standard is 12 hours. Some will say, oh, it's 10 hours, between 10 to 12 hours. Some is even between 8 to 10 hours. Some is like 6 to 8 hours. You need to ask all of these questions so that it's not in between your wedding. The photographer say, oh, I'm going, or maybe you just even discover that the photographer is gone. And you're like, I paid full money, I paid full. But you did not ask the right questions. So because you omitted the right questions, the photographer is not legally bound to provide certain things, because, well, what you paid for, this is what you paid for, even though you were not aware before you paid, or before you went ahead to pay, or maybe you paid and then the photographer is not saying, no, extra hours is 50,000 naira, and you're like, I don't have that. There's really nothing we can do about that. So it's important that you ask your photographer the right question. You also ask your videographer the right questions. What type of capturing are they going to do? How many photographers are they going to bring, for example? How many videographers? Are they coming with a drone? All of those things you need to ask. I've detailed this. I think I cannot overemphasize that all of these are detailed in my printable wedding planner that you should get. I highly recommend it that you should get. So number 5 mistake that a lot of brides make when they are planning their wedding is this: you don't account for hidden costs. Many times you just look at your budget and you're like, no, decor, drinks, catering, photographer, venue, makeup, I'm done. In fact, now I'm gonna do my hair myself. You have to account for hidden costs. There are actually a lot of costs that are associated. Many times when you are preparing your budget, you put space column for miscellaneous, because there are all the other hidden costs that you may not account for, or that a lot of people just forget to account for. For example, there's transportation costs. There is the cost of, I'm going to visit my caterer, I'm going to visit my photographer, I'm going for my pre-wedding shoot. All of those costs, we need to account for it. I think the major cost is transportation feeding. People don't account for that. Oh, I went to see my photographer, and then on our way back we stopped by to eat. That should be included in your budget. So account for hidden cost. You can put it as miscellaneous, or you make sure that you account for it. You give an estimate of, okay, if I'm doing this is the amount I am likely to spend. So don't ensure that you do not forget to account for hidden costs, because at the end of the day, it can just blow up your budget and you're like, wow, I didn't know. Or maybe you've even spent the money and then you want to pay for other things that are important that you've actually accounted for, but the money is not available, and you're wondering, how did you spend the money? So it's important that we budget for hidden costs when we're planning our wedding. Number 6 thing that I see a lot of times, this happens, like, in fact, it happens, very, very rampant, and that is not carving out enough time for makeup and hair. Yes, not carving enough time for makeup and hair. Sometimes people just say, makeup is not eyebrow, this, that. 30 minutes, we are done. But you need to ask your makeup artist, how many hours typically do you use for bridal makeup? You need to ask those questions, because that will allow, when you are planning your day of event program, you will be able to allocate, oh, I need 2 hours for my makeup, for example. I need 1 hour for hair. If you are getting married, if your traditional wedding and the white wedding is on the same day, oh, you need to, oh, okay, you know what? How much time do we need to switch? Are we doing a fresh makeup from the beginning? Because your traditional makeup is different from your church wedding makeup. So you need to ask that question. You need to, so you have enough time. So people are not rushing. You're like, bride, no, we are waiting. Oh, time has gone. Church is by 10 o'clock. You are leaving the engagement by 9:45 and things like that. And just, you know what? Let's just go. And you just go and get married. Because remember that you only get married once. And it is the images, the footages you have from that wedding that you will cherish. You will cherish the memories. Those pictures would show you, oh, we did this, I liked my look. In fact, I fell in love with me when I saw my picture on my wedding day. But if you don't give time for makeup and hair, then a part of the memory is lost, really. So ensure you don't forget that. Ensure you give out enough time for hair and makeup. Details of this also is in my printable wedding planner that you should get. You should definitely get this. You should definitely get the printable wedding planner. And the number 7 is not planning photo and video sessions. I know it's a crazy day. Wedding days are usually like packed, filled with activities, filled with, oh, this person is dragging you, oh, you know what, we are going for engagement, from engagement we are going to the church, from church we are going to the reception, from reception is after party, and it's like back to back. People are always around you, but you need to plan your photo and video sessions. Those are memories you would cherish. They are memories you would cherish. So ensure, don't forget to when you are planning your wedding day schedule, ensure that it is there is a time slot for your photo and your video session. It is very important. I cannot overemphasize the importance of this. Those are the pictures you will cherish. Those are the images you will cherish. You would see, you would look back, even maybe when you and your husband are fighting or you're quarreling, you have a misunderstanding, you will look back and you would cherish I remember when he saw me walking down the aisle. I remember when he first saw me on my wedding day. All of those things are very, very important, and you don't want to miss out on any of that. I know I said I'm going to give you 7 common mistakes, but there is one as a bonus. Let's just make this like a bonus, because I'm very generous. I'm a very cheerful giver. Not planning or not thinking about the type of wedding they want before you start planning. A lot of times you ask people, what type of wedding do you want? Like, you really don't know the type of wedding you want. No, that is a mistake you shouldn't make. Know the type of wedding. And when I'm talking about know the type of wedding you want, many times, Nigeria now, we like people. Hey, you can say, oh, I want 100 guests at my wedding, but your family say, oh, what is on? No, I do minimum of 500 and things like that. That is not when I'm talking about, or you need to think about the type of wedding you want. It is not just the number of guests. The number of guests is not the most important when you're thinking about the type of wedding you want. For example, think about the type of ambience you want, the type of setting you want. Is it going to be an outdoor wedding? Is it going to be indoor? Is it going to be in a building? Is it going to be in a marquee? All of those things you need to think about before you even start planning your wedding. And all of these details, I actually wrote a printable wedding planner that would help you organize your wedding planning from top to bottom, so that you don't miss out any detail. All of these things, all the things I'm saying now, it's actually in that printable wedding planner, and it's currently at a 90% discount. I don't know why it had me or that's making me give 90% discount, but take it as my gift to you. You should get the printable wedding planner. It's currently on 90% discount, and definitely get the printable wedding planner, so you have all your wedding planning process organized, and you have a seamless wedding. You get your dream wedding, which is my wish for you. That's what I want for everybody, that you get your dream wedding, you have a wedding that is organized, and you can look back at the memories you've created and be glad and be happy. I come your way next time. Have a fruitful wedding planning process and happy married life in advance.